Never apologize. Never fucking apologize here. They smell the drop that you bleed from, they will pounce on you like rabid dogs. Literally, somebody made a 20-minute video of all the times Hassan has called for violence. So Hassan can get away with that. But Asmongold says he doesn't want to hear about third world opinions. Therefore, he must get banned and have a written apology to get things back. He was still banned, and it still took a massive uproar on the internet to get it back. They do the same thing with cancel culture. Oh, you're not being canceled. You're not being silenced. Remnant, we love Remnant here. I mean, he seems like a good guy. Going based off what I know. Checked out a couple of live streams. Seemed cool. Haven't really watched any videos before, but I like the animation style of them.
So wait a minute. When Asmongold makes these generalizations, he should apparently be permanently banned.
I said that I didn't give a about the opinions of third worlders.
Yeah, I'd say that's like room for a ban. That's grounds for a ban, sure. He should be banned permanently for this. Why not? I wish you were silenced. Jesus Christ.
But when Hassan does the same thing, it's not only fine and acceptable, but you double down?
And I think Americans are gross. Americans do not have a understanding of the world. Americifying anything is going to be bad. Americans have a very limited understanding of the universe.
And so why am I getting suspended?
Look, Alec, I'm happy you apologized to me, but what you're doing here is disgusting. You don't care about this quote-unquote gross behavior. What you care about is banning people you disagree with. That's...
See, I don't want the on Twitter. I don't want the
world
and America and you know, involved with the Western world whatsoever. But I have principles. I have standards, okay? That's because there's something called I want them to
go wherever they want.
Good, the Indians can
prosper in
India. I don't give a shit.
They are totally welcome in America.
So therefore, that's my standard. Is America for
everyone,
and India for Indians? No. It's one standard for all. If you
love
Americans go
prosper in
Turkey, that's simple. That's simple.
That's it. Do not harass or go after the person in this video.
True! That is a PSA that I'm not really good at remembering to do because I'm just like yapping and forgetting to talk about that kind of stuff. But yeah, don't go after people I make react videos about or anything along those lines. or talk about just in general. That's
silly.
Don't be
silly.
April 6, Zach Asmongold Hoyt received a ban on Twitch that left the streaming world embroiled in another major debate over platform moderation. One of Twitch's most prominent and polarizing figures was hit with a 1-week suspension. I don't give a about the opinions of illiterate third worlders. Yeah, I'd say that's like room for a ban. That's grounds for a ban, sure. Yeah, that's kind of shitty.
So you just disagree, ban. And it's not racist. He's literally not even referring to a person by race. Third worlders could even include white people, and Alec Gunter has no problem against racism against white people. It's very interesting. If you were to bring up racism against white people, what would he say? Well, I'm white, and I don't really find it to be that big of an issue, which is...
He's got a Pepe pillow in the background. I don't like this. He should be banned. I don't like him. He should be banned. How dare he use Pepe as a prop in this background. I don't know what he is for saying. He's saying Asmongold should be banned for just disagreeing with him. It's a very leftist opinion, in my personal opinion, right? Hey, I don't like the fact he's got the Pepe in the background. We need to save Pepe from the cultural appropriation that's happening here. It makes me very upsetty to see Pepe used and abused like this. Anyways.
It's funny, we'll get into that in just a second.
Where you were born in the world, if you want to call it the third world. I feel like that's antiquated, but for all intents and purposes, if you were born a third worlder, this is just a statement like against you and like the uncontrollable factor of what piece of land you were popped out of your mom on. That's kind of shitty. I would say that a good company would not want people like saying these things and also representing them.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So
I get this whole like this argument. It's not exactly a leftist argument. It's a liberal argument in the sense of the coming from liberals and specifically though the Western ideal. Oh, it's not people's fault that they're born with this skin color, right? They didn't ask for it. The thing is, you're not exactly judging them by the skin color. You're judging by the content of the character. Using the whole, oh, it wasn't their fault where they were born. Okay, yeah, it's not their fault, but they still act the same way. People create culture, and culture creates people. It's cyclical. It goes in an endless cycle in this case. They're throwing trash into the rivers and shitting on the beaches, and this is not their fault for being born Indian, but it's their fault for their culture and their people and how they're acting. They're not going to change this, it's their culture. So therefore, I
Think their culture is beautiful.
still
Think they are inspirational and would love to hear their opinions.
You're arguing that you shouldn't have this on your platform because this represents you as a company. That's really interesting. A very capitalist mindset of you right there, Alec Gunter. I find that very interesting. So we're not talking about on the basis of morality. We're not talking on the basis of what should be permitted at all. No, we're talking about, well, company wouldn't want it to be represented this way. So therefore they have that right. And he goes into detail about, you know, how they have that right. He's such a big streamer and how he represents Twitch. The problem is, would you hold that same stance, Alec Gunter, if they banned people for being left-wing? You know, what if they just simply said, you know, Hassan, I don't like Hassan. Hassan is giving us a really bad look. You know, he didn't really violate any of our terms or services, or maybe they modified it so that his opinions purely wouldn't be allowed on their platform. Let's just say that, because companies can do whatever they want. Am I right? You can do whatever you want as an independent company, not ruled by the government. Would you be defending this ban? Would you be defending their ability to ban somebody off of that? No, you wouldn't. You'd be saying how it's wrong and it's against free speech, and you'd be saying, well, my free speech. You'd be saying that, except for when it comes to people you dislike. When it comes to people you dislike, okay, well, let's think about this from a company perspective. Let's think about their rights. They don't want to be represented this way. It's entirely hypocritical.
And Asmongold is a face of Twitch. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of the top dogs. So yeah, absolutely. Like, this is not something that you would want your company standing by. Honestly, like, I could see people getting fired for this. I don't see why not just permanently ban
That doesn't mean anything.
them.
That doesn't mean anything. Okay, they get fired for this. What about it? Doesn't mean if it's good or bad or it should happen. It doesn't mean it's consistent, especially with the things that Hassan says. There are plenty.
There is sort of kind of an argument for the face of the company, right? What represents them to a certain degree. But then we have the whole question of like a publisher versus the provider situation, which used to be a strong debate back in like 2018 YouTube, roughly in that time period, when YouTube really started like cracking down with their censorship and demonetizing people and shadow banning them and things like this. People were like, okay, is being a publisher, or if they're just being like a provider of some sort. I think I'm using the wrong terms here, to be honest, as once again, this is a debate that's kind of old at this point. And if it's just a platform, there we go, not provider, platform. And if it's just a platform where you the individual creates your own content, you are your own face, they just kind of, you know, provide you that way to do so, which is what YouTube is supposed to be. And same thing with Twitch. Like, it's not exactly Twitch's responsibility to care about what you do, as long as it's not like illegally breaking the law. You're like actively committing crimes. It's not YouTube or Twitch's responsibility to really care what you do, because they're just there to provide the service so you can actually do this content yourself. Versus a publisher, that is somebody who actively does care about what you're doing, because they are purposely trying to have a message, right? That, like, whatever their goal as a company is. Like Fox News, for example, is the quintessential right-leaning news network. Well, it's Fox News. You know you're gonna get conservative Republican opinions coming from Fox News. Like, they are a publisher in that case. Or CNN is the opposite with leftist nonsense there. And as soon as YouTube starts pressing the pedals and turning the knobs, censoring what people can and cannot do, that's when the lines get blurred. Are they a publisher or are they a platform? And it's a debate that's never actually really been resolved, because it requires going into US legal code, and it gets really messy because there's pros and cons for YouTube being a publisher versus a provider. Personally, you know, I've always seen them myself as a platform, but the past 10 years, things have greatly changed, and it's very messy, and I don't speak legalese myself. But going back to Twitch specifically in this case, once again, platform or publisher. They're supposed to be a platform, but they're very obviously a publisher. And if they're a publisher, then yeah, they're going to care about their face and their brand. But they're technically a platform, even though they act like a publisher. So, like, they shouldn't care that much. And this is, once again, where things get messy.
plenty of instances where people get fired for things that you believe are wrong and you wouldn't defend those things. So why are you bringing up, oh, a company would fire you for this behavior? That doesn't make any sense to me, especially if like somebody was fired for like being left wing. You would defend them.
I didn't even think the joke was that funny. Like,
Poor man's tech tone.
I don't think it's that funny, but I still don't think that he should have been fired because of it. Like, are you kidding me?
You would say they shouldn't be fired on the basis of their beliefs, right?
Them. And Asmongold is a face of Twitch. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of the top dogs. So yeah, absolutely. Like, this is not something that you would want your company standing by. Honestly, like, I could see people getting fired for this. I don't see why not just permanently ban him, you know? People have gotten fired for less. I'm just pointing that out. All right, how did Asmongold respond to his Twitch ban? Well, we're gonna watch that. So let's skip
This
over
gets
to the video.
interesting.
Why I got banned on Twitch.
But he's, once again, platform versus publisher here. He's a streamer. Because the Twitch is a streaming platform where he can just plug in a camera and a microphone and just yap all day about whatever he wants. It's not actual, like, he's contracted, he's signed an agreement with a company. It's different. It's not like he's actually getting fired versus Jimmy Kimmel's actually being hired and has contracts with this, you know, SNL and whatever TV provider he's got. Like, these are two different things. Also, Jimmy Kimmel has called for assassination of Trump and various other heinous things, which are definitely towing the line for free speech, because then you're getting into calls to violence there. Versus Asmongold just saying, oh, I don't want to hear opinions about they're from...
Bigot chance.
There's a little bit of a difference. Just a little bit of a difference there.
Let's take a look from the mouth itself. The disgusting, rotten mouth of
Yeah,
Asmongold
of course.
himself.
Real quick, he just
Guys.
feels perfectly fine to personally attack him off of his appearance. Look, Asmongold...
Thanks to a chatter, I just realized is a reaction to a reaction to a reaction to a reaction? Because I'm reacting to Remnant's video, who was reacting to this leftist, who was reacting to Asmongold's. We have hit limits of reaction-ception that I never thought I would actually hit, because I find it kind of cringe. But here I am, because I saw this video, I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I like this Remnant dude. And here we are, 5 layers deep into Reaction's butthole.
It's perfectly fine to personally attack him off of his appearance. Look, Asmongold clearly is not the best looking guy out there. I mean...
Okay, I'm not an Asmongold simp. I never got into his thing and into his shit ever before. Didn't know he existed till like 2 years ago from watching Gearsha. But I was looking up photos of him for the thumbnail tonight, and I saw him with short hair, and I'm like, damn, he's actually attractive. Because one, I don't like guys with long hair, and two, his long hair is really greasy and unclean, especially in this clip in particular. So it's like, the guy is actually attractive if he just cut the hair and took a shower. He's really not that bad. He just needs to do those 2 simple steps. Anyways, I'm sorry, I just had to defend him there.
Just like, let's look at this. He can take a lot better care of his looks. I get that. But I doubt that Alec Gunter would be willing to insult people and attack people that he agrees with off of...
No! The Bible Reloaded! Okay, interesting. So this guy hangs around the old Bible Reloaded crew? Okay, this takes me back. This takes me fucking back here. So a lot of people think Remnant is like a copycat of Armor Skeptic. So we're gonna go into some old lore here, okay? Autistic rambling, be prepared for the next 5 minutes. I used to be a massive fan of Armor Skeptic way back in the day, during the Skeptic community, right? The online atheists versus the Christians. And then the Skeptic community splintered into the anti-SJWs and the SJWs, which are just now woke at this point, right? Those kind of things. And to be fair, Remnant does remind me a lot of Armor Skeptic with his model and everything like that. But supposedly he's, you know, not related, that kind of... It's not even the same voice, right? Anyways... Part of the Skeptic community was a YouTube channel called The Bible Reloaded, which I was also a big fan of, with, well, Hugo and Jake. And they would read the Bible and deconstruct it and make fun of it. There was also these chick checks they would read out, and those were really funny too. And I really liked them because I was a fedora-tipping atheist back then. I eventually stopped watching Bible Reloaded because they kind of stopped producing, and then I also went my anti-SJW arc, you know, started getting way more in the specifically politics with Sargon of God and, you know, Sargon's crew. and versus they kind of went more left-leaning. I kind of stopped paying attention to what happened to them until I got back into like content creation myself, and I found that Jake still streams. He's got a whole thing with Corn apparently, and he's a massive leftist. And then Hugo has transitioned into Hannah. Fucking blast from the past right here. And apparently this leftist guy is friends with these people that are basically irrelevant now because they went off. Like, if they just stuck with the Bible Reloaded, they probably would have been fine, or at least mostly fine. I know like atheist commentary is been completely overrun thanks to politics. It's filled with leftists. But if I like that, and they're just chasing trends. But I don't know, they probably would have been fine. They stick with the Bible Reloaded. It was good. I don't know, maybe I'm reminiscing too much from my 13-year-old Fedora Tuppin days, but still. Anyways, I had to do my little autistic ramble here.
The fact that they don't look visually appealing. When I insulted Alec Gunter for something he can control, like a long time ago, he wasn't happy about that. It's not a matter of, you know, simply insulting them based off of their appearance. It's a matter of, do I dislike this person? Asmongold right here is an evil, horrible racist. That's why he's worthy of these insults and personal attacks. Insults and personal attacks that I don't think would be warranted if it was against somebody I agree with. It reminds me of what people say about AI. They say AI is bad because it creates horrible, shitty looking images and art and videos. Okay, would you be fine with AI then if it didn't do that? If it produced high quality, really good looking images and videos? No, you would still hate it. So it's just an empty insult and a rebuttal at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. There's no winning with these people. He's set against you from the very moment because he disagrees with you. He views you as evil. It's not the behavior that he has a problem with. It's simply the person. It's simply the his beliefs.
Like, come on. And like, this background doesn't look particularly, I guess it's not terrible. I don't know.
It also, here's the thing, guys. I think that it comes from maybe a bit of a insecure place because, you know, Alec Gunter has changed quite a bit since we last interacted with him. He's gotten a lot better. I'm happy for him in that regard. He's not what he used to be. I genuinely believe that Alec Gunter has changed a bit for the positive. He's still a leftist though, but I want to give credit where credit's due. The problem is though, in terms of appearance, if you want to criticize a person who's in politics for their appearance, Alec, you literally look like a Disney adult. And those are really frowned upon if you want to get into politics.
I don't think he looks like a Disney adult. I think he looks like Tim Pool. Especially with that beanie on. He literally looks like a slightly fatter Tim Pool.
My avatar, for example, it's not fully to be taken seriously. I have a night helmet on, for Pete's sake. It's a great way for me to hide my identity while still being entertaining. But I at least wear a suit. There is a presentation going on here. I have more room to stand on to criticize his appearance, even your appearance. I've criticized other people's appearances. But the problem is, you don't have that privilege. You don't have that room to stand on. This is hypocritical. You're not that much better. You're a Disney adult. In many of your videos, that's how you look.
Oh.
This feels like it's coming from a place of insecurity from what I can see.
So much free
Doesn't
time.
look very neat.
Well, I guess I could start by making this video, right? So, I got suspended last night on Twitch. I end my stream, and I come back from the gas station, and I get a message, and somebody says, why can't I chat in your stream? And I'm like, well, I don't know, what happened? And I look, and I get a message, and it says that my account has been suspended for 7 days because of hateful conduct. So, this is what I did. This is what I said.
I feel like Asmongold's gotten away with saying so much. Oh yeah, for sure.
And he doesn't say anything about Hassan getting away with this.
By the way, if you're going to take him off the platform for saying that thing, I think that at the very least, a written statement from him as like one of the top dogs on Twitch saying, I apologize for my comments, should be required to reinstate his status.
Never apologize. Never fucking apologize here. When leftists are begging for blood, never apologize. As soon as they smell the drop that you bleed from, oh, they will pounce on you like rabid dogs, because now they know that you're weak. Now that you know that you've bent the knee and will do anything they tell you to do. And as soon as you apologize, they'll never let you forget it. They'll never actually forgive you. Because the whole point of apologizing is forgiveness, right? It's supposed to be like, I have fucked up. I have done something wrong. I have hurt you. I am sorry for this. I feel guilty and I promise to change. And the person who is, you know, receiving the apology, is up to them to decide if they receive it or not. And if they accept it, then it's like, okay, I forgive you. I will give you a second chance. I won't bring up what you've done again, and I expect you to prove yourself and going forward. And the person's actually sincere about the apology, then they'll stop doing whatever they did in the first place. And then, you know, they move on. The person who's been wrong never brings it up again. They've changed. Everything's all good in the hood. There. But the whole point of apologizing is the forgiveness. The left doesn't forgive. They definitely never forget. You apologize, and they're like, well, you should have known better, you evil, racist, Nazi bigot. And then if you do something again that they dislike, they're gonna be like, well, hey, remember that one time you said XYZ and, you know, pissed us all off because you're evil, racist, Nazi bigot again? Well, we demand another apology. Never apologize. And definitely don't do a cringy written statement for saying you don't want to hear third world opinions. You don't have to listen to people that hate you and hate your country because you're white. You don't have to listen to them because you know what they're going to say. They just want you dead because you're white and your country's better than theirs.
This as a Twitch partner, you know what I mean? At least an apology. You know, even if it's bullshit, at least he's forced to do it, you know? Like, come on. This was nothing.
If you get...
Oh, if this is bullshit, at least he's forced to do it. That's the fucking key right there. And Remnant will probably say the same thing I'm about to say here anyway, but whatever. I'm the react slop, okay? That's the key point. At least he's forced to do it. It's all about groveling. It's all about power, because that's all the left cares about, is them holding the power themselves to tell you what to do, because they believe they're superior, mainly morally superiority, but they also get off on that too. And so therefore, they want you to do whatever they want. And if Asmon's been forced to make a written apology, which is his scenario here, even better. He'll jerk himself off to sleep every single night once that happens, because that's all he wants. All he wants is power over Asmongold to ruin his life because he disagrees with him.
And you need to apologize for the heinous thing you did. Keep that in mind, especially if you're a big streamer.
Herders from Afghanistan.
For those who don't know, he's already been unbanned.
Again, the way this looks out in the public is not
as of this recording.
The opinions of third worlders don't matter. Like, I don't care what some illiterate goat herder thinks in Afghanistan. It doesn't matter.
In the context.
That is racist as f. That's racist.
He's in reference to race there, but like everything's racist. Who cares?
I mean, he mentioned Afghanistan, so therefore that's why it's probably racist, because Afghanistan's full of
earthly individuals.
goat herders. But who cares? I also don't care about the goat herder, the illiterate goat herder in Afghanistan, or in Czechoslovakia, or in Africa, though they probably don't have any goats because they
invented farming.
Why should I care what a foreigner thinks about my country when they don't live here and they're not involved in any way, shape, or form?
I'm sorry, it is. That's incredibly racist. Why the f do you think that, like, a platform should stand by you after you say shit like that? It's disgusting. You're a disgusting person for saying that. And I don't care that you got your platform suspended for, like, what, 4 days, was it? I don't know.
Of those people believing AI-generated videos about Iran winning the war and nuking Israel off the map.
This is something I do disagree with. Like, when it comes to our opinions on Israel, I don't agree with Asmongold on this. And that's something I would stand by. I don't like his opinions when it comes to Israel and Palestine. I'm against that. My opinion is much more, let's not be involved in what's going on the other side of the world. And most of the arguments I see for people talking about this is, what is best for Israel or Palestine, the country that they care more about? My opinion is, what is best for America?
Gentlemen, I would like to confirm that I am 100% right, and you don't either. And neither do they, because if Twitch cares about their opinions, why don't they apply Afghanistan's opinions to women on Twitch? That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Okay, hold on. The government having strict restrictions for women in their society does not reflect the opinions of the entire society. You were talking about the society and the people living there as a whole, and as a result of living in, like, being born on that piece of land. It's just innate. Like, you innately do not care about the opinions of somebody who comes from a country that is considered third world, and that's a shitty thing to say. It is not the same as saying that, like, it's not this, that you're comparing their people to their government.
You can't.
There is a difference between people and government. There's also an argument that people make the government too, but we're not going to get into that specifically. It's not exactly a shitty thing to say. They're going with the blank slate theory that everyone's equal, everyone's the same. IQ doesn't matter. Where you live doesn't matter. It's just everyone starts out pure, innocent, and it's just socioeconomic factors that, you know, change a person. But that's not true. It's never been true. Yes, there is a little bit of nurture does involve its way within how humans are developing, but a lot of it is mostly nature. He's completely wrong about this fact. It's not shitty to say. What is shitty to say, and since, you know, Hassan's being brought up in this video by Remnant, and Hassan is the picture-perfect example of what the heinous stuff you can say on Twitch and just get away with it. Literally, somebody made a 20-minute video of all the times Hassan has called for violence. So Hassan can get away with that, but Asmongold says he doesn't want to hear about third world opinions. So therefore he must, you know, get banned and have a written apology to get things back. Once again, double standards there.
Judge a person simply because of where they were born. Keep that in mind.
Them. Nobody cares. I'm not sorry. I'm right. I said nothing wrong, and nothing I said was against the terms of service.
He should be banned permanently for this. Why not? Twitch suspended him for saying the thing that he said, and he's saying, I will say it again. I said nothing wrong, and I will say it again.
We'll keep that in mind.
Why the f is he unbanned? Make it make sense. Like, got a few days vacation here.
Beyond that, do you even imagine a world where somebody that says...
If he wasn't a top streamer, it would be banned? Absolutely. Twitch definitely shows favoritism.
Twitch shows favoritism towards Hassan. They love Hassan. I don't think Alec could even disagree with that.
Toward him.
They don't care.
He should have been.
Isn't Asmon actually a net loss for Twitch, is what I've heard? Because of how he, like, doesn't run ads and various things? I've been banned from Twitch for, like, almost a year now. And so I've kind of forget how it works. He doesn't have like, then again, Twitch already has ads automatically, so I'm not understanding how the ads don't really work there. But I've heard he's nothing but like a black hole for Twitch. They forced him to run ads. Okay, so he was there for a minute, but then, like, I don't think he's lost anymore. Okay, did they actually change it because he was? I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, because frankly, I can't exactly blame them.
About what a fat American thinks about the Middle East. Can you imagine that this person ever gets suspended? Of course not.
He has some woke qualities, but he's nowhere near as woke as Francis. Francis was a socialist. This
Actually, he might, because didn't Hassan, he said, like, if a Middle Easterner said, I don't care what some fat American has to say, they might get banned. Sure. Hassan Piker and...
No, they don't, because Hassan says it all the time. Nothing happens to him. Why aren't you complaining?
Vosh were both nuked off.
Because you agree with it.
Off of Twitch for saying the word. So I'm just pointing that out there. Oh, sorry.
Actually, okay. Someone in chat brought up, he might as well just leave Twitch to stream on Kick and Rumble. Also, YouTube's really problem is to leave the VOD on YouTube after stream. Yeah, so, like, I might be coming from the wrong position here because, like, I'm obviously a small nobody. And I'm, you know, and for the record, I am pretty much okay with that. But Asmongold is the biggest streamer of all time, and he's been that for a while. He's at his peak, and I imagine over time, somebody will replace him to be the next big fad because that's how the internet works in general. But as long as he doesn't do anything scandalous and any skeletons come out of his closet, he'll probably keep that record for a while. And he could leave Twitch, do massive damage to it, and then stream on Kick and Rumble and then YouTube and be perfectly fine. Still retain his audience. He's already, what, a millionaire? Or something along those, like, I know there's those clips of him and Caleb Hammer together, and Caleb told him he needs to, like, approximately needs to spend, like, $2 million a year for tax purposes. And then Asmon responded back, what am I supposed to do with $2 million? Like, what am I supposed to spend for that? On one hand, I can kind of understand, because I got $2 million. Oh, that would be a lot of fucking money. On the other hand, there are many things you could do. So, there seems to be a bigger incentive to hurt Twitch if he actually hates the censorious policies of it. because he can still make amazing money off Kick, Rumble, and YouTube. Well, mostly Kick and YouTube, because especially in the case of Kick, with it being just a green copy of Twitch, at a certain level, you do get paid for people just watching you. And if a vast majority of his audiences goes to Kick, not only is he getting the benefits from Kick's warp tokens and subby bubbies there, but he's also getting the paid for the viewership aspect as well. It's a win overall if he just abandons Twitch. Frankly, that's what he probably should do, in my personal opinion, but then again, you know, it's mostly because he's got the luxury of already having a ton of money, but if he can keep on hoarding it, I mean, good for you.
The C slur.
Is an American.
Yeah, and he doesn't have an issue with slurs. Look at that. He doesn't have an issue with it. Why? It's because you can't be racist towards white people, even though that doesn't make any sense. He's perfectly fine with it, and he defended Hassan getting banned for saying slurs. And here's the thing. This is why, and let me give you a piece of advice, Alec, if you're watching this video. This is why nobody cares whether you call them racist or not. When you openly display such apathy to racism towards white people, why the should we care what you call racist? You are racist to us. So it's just at the end of the day, the pot calling the kettle black. It doesn't mean anything. It's lost all purpose. There's no valid criticism behind this. This shows you don't have a problem with racism. You have a problem with where it leads to. If it pushes a left-wing agenda, that's fine. If it pushes back against something you value, like immigration or multiculturalism, then racism's bad. Meaning, you don't have a problem with the behavior, you have a problem with the agenda. Nothing more.
And I think Americans are gross. Americans do not have a understanding of the world. Americifying anything is going to be bad. Americans have a very limited understanding of the universe.
And so why am I getting suspended?
When Hassan does something that he's criticizing Asmongold for, he just simply says, well, he's not wrong. You're not principled with this. You can't then say that behavior is immoral or wrong. You can't be criticizing somebody for it, but then be fine with it when somebody you like does it.
It's more third worldist morality logic inversion that basically...
Also,
I mean, you can. It's a very classic leftist tactic I talked about earlier before we got into the React video. You can, you know, not have principles and morals. You can have the mentality that that's only for friends and not enemies. Because that's exactly what the left does. And this Alex guy is the prime example of this. Like, he's not actually using his principles, his rules for Hassan because Hassan's on his side, but he's willing to, you know, go after Asmongold because he's on the opposite side there. I'm not exactly a fan of that myself, especially when it comes to free speech in particular. Free speech is one thing that I don't think I could ever capitulate that kind of principle myself. But the right does need to kind of learn a similar tactic, though not in this case with freedom of speech, but with power in itself, because that's the only way we're actually going to get anything done. What he's doing is not that surprising, and the right needs to learn how to do it back, because pearl clutching and being like, oh, you're being a hypocrite. They don't care they're being a hypocrite. I mean, some of them might not be self-aware enough they realize that they are, but others are, and they simply do not care. You have been painted with a target on your back, be it a fascist, Nazi, bigot, racist, sexist, homophobe, whatever label they're going to throw at you at the time, right? And they don't care what happens to you as long as you're destroyed. And so you have to defend yourself some way, shape, or form. And free speech is the best way. It's the principle that I'm not willing to capitulate and try to fight fire for fire, because it actually is a great way to fight them back. Because if you start being like, well, you should be banned for what you have to say because you said, you know, X, Y, Z, then that's tumbling down a hill I'd rather not go into, right? I'd rather not fall into the Ganges River myself in that case. Let's bring it back to IRL situation with like the activist judges, where they're using the gray areas of the law and stopping Trump with his executive orders because saying it's unconstitutional. Well, the right can do the same thing whenever a Democrat comes into power, whether it would be Biden a few years ago or whoever the next Democrat is. We can play that game too. And other areas, if we had the balls to. Not like I really want to, but desperate times call for desperate measures.
It is also shitty to say, like, if you are, it still is a little shitty to say, if you are from America, I don't give a f about your opinions. Obviously, like, if somebody were to say that to me, I would assume that they're talking about the, you know, dumbass Americans. Like me, you know, like, okay, you don't care about my opinions because I was born in the land of milk and honey and we, like, I'm part of the group of people who completely it both for ourselves and for everybody else. I can understand why you'd have a bit of a sore spot. You know, it's not like I'm suffering as badly as you are.
Riddle me this, Batman. Would Alec Gunter be fine with a black person saying it's totally fine for white people to use the N-word, hard R, in a derogatory way to a black man? He would say no. And then if the black man said, actually, I don't find it to be that big of an issue when people say it. I don't feel bad when it comes to it. He said, it doesn't matter. You're not speaking on part of all black people and all the rest, yada, yada, yada. You can't do that. Just because you're black doesn't mean you can be racist towards black people. That's what they say. But when it comes to Alec, because he's a white man, of course he's going to utilize that card. Why? It's because he doesn't give a fuck about consistency when it comes to behavior or the things he's criticizing. It's a matter of who's it being done to and does it favor me?
Careful, Alec, yeah. But like at this, but you know, it would be a little shitty.
I should point out, this is still a good argument for normies because at least white normies still have this mentality. While I am not trying to defend this Alec guy, but I'm pointing out why they don't care and why the white right should do the same. Remnant making this video is still good to just show the leftist hypocrisy, because just introducing these ideas to normies drip feeds them and slowly makes them realize these things, and then they shift further to the right, which is exactly what's been happening over the past 10 years, where you had the classical liberals now shifting to more authoritarian aspects because they've realized all the changes that has happened as things have gotten worse and worse and worse. It is important to know you still have to appeal to the normie, because the normie is the majority audience. Most people are average. Most people are normies. Most people don't really think that hard about various things. And so you have to appeal to their emotions and appeal to basic sensibilities to get them on your side, and then you can slowly start introducing and make them and point out little things that just don't exactly make sense to get there. It's a process. It takes time, but you know, it sort of kind of happens that way. I'm not trying to appeal to normies. I just yap and rant about various things, so I have no problem kind of pointing the various things out. I have no problem with being a little bit of a hypocrite in this case, also myself, because if the left is going to be hypocritical about their principles and use my own morals as a sword and shield against me, then fuck you. Like, I'll throw these morals and principles out the window then, and we'll fight barehanded, because, you know, I'm not gonna die. Right? Because you're being a bitch in this case. But that's me once again.
Yeah, I can acknowledge that. Sure. Like, you should listen to people regardless of where they're from.
Even if they're a stupid American?
I can get on board with that message. But like, I'm sorry, this just isn't comparable.
Is being used to silence me for an entire week.
They're silencing me. No.
Part that I want to talk about.
Look at me right now. I'm so silenced. No.
It's
No,
because
please.
basically Twitch has a system
I'm
where
so
they
silent.
say that your infractions or your bad actions.
Well, wasn't this a YouTube video? So he's still being silenced on Twitch, which is, despite all his faults, a major platform. He was still banned, and it still took a massive uproar on the internet to get it back. Like, it's still being silenced. The left, well, they do the same thing with cancel culture back when that was all the rage a few years ago. And it still technically happens to this day, by the way, just on a lesser scale. Oh, you're not being canceled. You're not being silenced. You still make money from XYZ. Well, okay, great. I'm glad I haven't lost XYZ just yet, in this case, YouTube. But I still lost a major platform where I was making a good chunk of money. I'm still being silenced for my opinions. And some people it was much worse than that, where they actually lost their jobs. And it's almost impossible to get a job again after that. Like, this is very, very different things. But just because someone's successful and actually has a name behind them, right, and fame, and able to fight back the system better because of it, doesn't mean for the average person that lost their job for supporting Trump back in 2020, people doxed him, doesn't mean that person's gonna get away scot-free. His life is now ruined because of you guys. You're shitty people.
Fire within 1 year. Well, the last time I was
I wish you were silenced. Jesus Christ.
suspended, well,
That's
we all
horrible.
remember the last time I was suspended. But
Could
that
use
was
a
in October
shut the fuck up pill.
2024. I have not been suspended for over an entire year. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because they say it matters. It matters because they say that's whenever the infractions expire and your account is treated as not being in bad standing. So why is it in that case that instead of getting a warning, instead of getting a suspension, instead of getting for a day, instead of getting a suspension for 3 days...
He's so whiny about... I've never seen Hassan Piker whine like this.
He did! He did! That's the beauty of this. Hassan Piker has whined about this type of stuff. Yes. So you're gonna call Hassan Piker a whiny bitch? Call Hassan a bitch right now. Do it. Do it right now. You called Asmongold for it. Be a man and be consistent and called Hassan a bitch. Guess what? It gets beautiful. Look at this.
Hassan Piker has been suspended from the platform, and each time it happens, he puts out a statement about it, may say some shit about, you know, yeah, that's pretty shitty. Especially the thing, which I think he was completely not in the wrong.
When Asmongold gets banned, you know, he has to make a written apology. But when Hassan does, well, guess what? It's totally fine for him not to apologize or say that he was wrong, even though he's such a big creator on the platform. Because, guess what? He's right. Guess what? It's fine. We don't have to do these written apologies for big streamers unless I disagree with you. That's it. You don't have to write a written apology. It's just evil tech company. But when it's a person on the right being banned, guess what? It's a benevolent tech company that just wants what's best for themselves. That's it. Depending on if you're right-wing or left-wing, that's how we criticize you, and that's how we defend you. If you're left-wing and you get banned, this is horrible. You're totally in the right, man, and you don't have to apologize. When Hassan does the same thing, he's making a statement. When Asmongold does it, he's whiny. He's whiny. Even though Hassan complained about it. Look at this. Let's play.
But that's it. Like, then he moves on. He doesn't make a 12-minute whiny-ass, bitchy-ass complaining video.
No, he doesn't make a 12-minute long whiny complaining video. He makes a 20-minute long complaining whiny video.
That's more like a half an hour. Holy shit, 26 minutes? Oh god, okay. And I bet Hassan's more filled with, you know, swearing and complaining and being like, oh, this stupid fucking system, this is retarded, blah, 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 blah. Versus Aswin's was more like deconstructing and actually showing examples with some, you know, obviously some retardedness, some those kind of words there. I called him a
kind compliment.
And apparently I was on the dot. Wow, imagine my shot. Physiognomy actually works out, doesn't it? Why be bipartisan when you can be bipartisan? Anyways.
Complaining whiny video.
They're silencing me. No.
I want to talk about.
Look at me right now. I'm so silenced. No.
It's justified when we do it. That's literally all the arguments are at the end of the day. It's justified when we do these things. When you do it, it's bad. And I'm going to mock you for it because you're right wing. Not because I have a problem with the same behavior that we do. It's just because I disagree with you. I hate this. It's so disgusting. I would despise this behavior a lot less if you're at least transparent. If you're just saying, I don't have a problem when people do these bad things because they're left wing, because I agree with them. Be honest. Just say that. Golly, this is disgusting.
About like what a silenced little boy he is. Look at me. Oh, I'm so oppressed. Shut the fuck up. No, you're.
Yeah, Hassan, you're not oppressed. You're just pathetic when you complain. Say that, man. Say it. Come on, you believe it, right? Don't you actually believe this?
Say the C word again. I feel like that's basically blown over. I don't think they're actually going to like get me for that. Maybe they will. Who knows? But at least my main platform's YouTube anyway.
It has to be.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Just because you're white doesn't mean that you can do anti-white racism. Same with a black person. Just because they're black doesn't mean they can do black racism. Here's his view, because I know he's going to stop me here and he's going to say you can't be racist towards white people because of systemic racism. In order to be racist towards white people, you need prejudice plus power.
Ugh.
That's a fucking lie, though, because not even sociologists teach that. There are different types of racism. There's interpersonal racism, and there's internalized racism, and there's systemic racism. I think there's even more racism out there. In many instances, it is accurate. You can look out throughout history at different points of time and say, hey, we can look at this through the lens of groups, of people, of systems. That's accurate. Can you do that today? No, I don't think you can do that today in America and say that minorities are facing systemic racism. And the way we know.
I mean, we can, technically. It's just that minorities are white. Because white people are about 8% of the world global population. and they have been actively discriminated over the past 20 plus some years now, from college degrees, jobs, loans as well. Recently came out, like, one of the good things Trump has done, by the way, one of the good things Trump has done is unveiling that under the Biden administration, there was a strong anti-Christian bias there, and where they purposely denied people loans and assistance because they were Christian, and actually target them and arrest them because they were Christian as well. Which I know is not exactly being white, but Christianity in America is mainly a white religion here, so there's definitely some overlap as well. There's definitely strong anti-white bias and everything. I mean, what do you think DI means? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. The whole thing is supposed to be anti-white. Purely the brown, the blacks, and the women to rise up against the white men. And it still is in power to this day. They just replaced DI with bridge instead. And there's been various little leaks coming out where like, oh yeah, well, we still implement DI, we just changed the name of it. We hired somebody else under a different title, and other things happening there. So there's still, these companies are still implementing it. There's still a reason why white men are extremely disenfranchised. Racism still exists today, and it is against minorities. The global minority, white people, specifically white men. In a perfect world, we could all be holding hands saying kumbaya and racism wouldn't exist whatsoever. And we try to build that world under the Western liberal society, but this simply doesn't work because people are naturally racist. Every culture, every religion, every people have always been racist. There's still racism within Africa, where I've seen posts of light-skinned South Africans being racist to like Nigerians and other like darker-skinned ones, and comparing them to various forms of monkeys, which is wild to see. I mean, even the Asians still hate each other. The Japs and the Chinese hate each other a ton. Right now, there's apparently some like international conflict that's happening, which is hurting the gacha games, which is how I know about it, right? Like, racism will always exist. You can never actually eradicate it. It is natural. But the problem is when it's actually done to its own people in its own country, in this case, America, it's purposely being done to the actual civilians and constituents of America itself. We can't actually have a perfect race, blind society.
No, that's true. Is look at the end results. They're not doing as well and everything. And here's the thing. The idea that if you're a minority, you can't be racist, that's bullshit. If a black person said that he hated black people, what would they say? He has internalized racism. I guess you can be racist in one way or another if you're black without that power. And what about just racism in general? Just isolated instances. If a black man calls a white person a slur, is that racist? If you're a retard, you're going to say no. The reality is, according to these people, yes, there's interpersonal racism. It's an isolated instance. Systemic racism wasn't even designed to replace the concept of racism altogether and to hijack it. No, it was just another category. That's what it was at the end of the day. These people, according to their own worldview, are retarded. It falls apart because if systemic racism was the only type of racism to exist, you could go to China and call a Chinese person a slur. In China, there aren't like prejudices against Chinese people, and Chinese people have the power in China. Therefore, can a white person be racist going into China and calling a Chinese person a slur? Technically speaking, not, if there's only systemic racism, if that's how you're looking at these things. But there are different types of racism. And Alec Gunter, you are racist towards white people. And I don't care that you're saying, oh, I'm white, and I don't get offended by it. It doesn't matter. If a black person said the exact same thing, he's fine with racism towards black people, you would say, go yourself.
Because it's certainly not
But
because
that's
what
not
I'm
much.
saying is against the terms of service. I looked at the terms of service. Yes, using nationality is a protected group, but I was not talking about them being disregarded because of nationality. I was talking
You
about
said third world? Okay, explain.
being disregarded because of the fact that they're watching literal AI-generated videos and then believing a false narrative.
No, but you put that onto all third worlders. Okay? You literally said third worlders.
You're fine when Son says the exact same thing about dumb Americans because you identify as a dumb American. That doesn't excuse the behavior. It's wrong if it's wrong. It doesn't matter who's saying it or who's doing it if you actually believe these things. But you don't. You only care about who's doing it to who.
Which is not only one country, it's a specific group of countries that have been Okay? Like, this is not comparable. I'm sorry. You're not special.
And the video's context was about, would you rather be having likes on Twitter or having your entire Navy not destroyed?
Do you think that the Iranians would rather have their entire Navy back or their memes?
Oh.
Jeez, guys, I wonder. And so anyway, this is what's happened, is that I have been suspended for an entire week.
It's just insulting. Like, we bomb a school in Iran. Listen to this. Like, this is after we've bombed a school there and killed like 170. This is the commentary.
Think that the Iranians would rather have their entire Navy back or their memes?
Oh.
Like, that's disgusting. Like,
Here's my take. The people who advocate for violence, they should be banned. Now, I know what Alec Gunter's gonna say, though. He's gonna say, well, what about Asmongold? He's advocating for war across the world. Both sides do that. And I think there should be discussion on whether it is advantageous for America to go to war or not. I'm not in favor of war, but that shouldn't be a bannable offense.
no, people have died. We've killed innocent people over there. Countless lives have just been destroyed over this shit. Destroyed. Never to be the same, okay? Man,
Jeez, guys, I wonder. And so anyway...
I'm gonna drop something on you guys real quick. I'm gonna drop something heavy on you
drop
guys.
Something.
You know, you remember when like I had that? I call it a spiritual awakening. Like a little under a year ago, and like I was a little manic for a while, and I did this radical empathy thing. Right? I still abide by that. Although I do think I want to change the name to critical empathy. I can't remember who said that. I think it was on the Majority Report. Critical empathy. I like that a lot better. But anyway, I digress. I was so like hopeful for humanity for a little bit. Like I had this awakening where I'm like, oh my God, humans can be good. We can make this.
We actually talked about this in private because after like he apologized to me, I accepted it because I thought it was sincere, and I still do think it's sincere. But I remember telling him, and I think I even told this to him on his channel, I don't think you can just have a nice little peaceful world where everybody gets along who fucking disagrees with themselves. I don't think that's possible, especially given that you would have to force other people to give up their worldviews that evil exists at all.
Work if we just get
Well, yeah, that is literally impossible, which is why communism doesn't work. Because you have to strip everything that makes everyone unique to make sure everyone is quote-unquote equal in a way for it to so-called function. But that's impossible. You can strip their wealth away, but you can't strip the fact that one person's better at machinery and another person's good at English and would be better off a teacher. If you try to make the English teacher go into machinery and then the guy who's good with machines go to be an English teacher, and then you have dumb fucking students, which I guess is kind of the goal of the state, and you have broken machines. They're not equal. They have different skills. They have different abilities there. You can't actually make people equal. And in the case of opinions, same thing. Like, you're going to get people to agree on a lot of stuff, but there's going to be some aspects where you disagree with. You're never going to actually get the true equality there, no matter what you do. You cannot hold hands and sing Kumbaya. You cannot get everyone to have the same opinion. It's literally impossible here.
along and like, you know, like basically sing Kumbaya, but in all seriousness, like behave as though we are siblings and the earth is our planet and we just get along and do what we need to do for each other and for ourselves. I think that world is still possible. I do. But man, when I say possible, I do mean like that. You know what I mean?
It's not
like
possible.
Every day I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe this universe was meant for something greater than us, you know, disgusting, fragile humans who just could not keep it together enough to persist.
I do not. You shouldn't. They shouldn't give a fuck about what I think about their country. Because why would I take somebody's opinion that is from a shithole in these countries? And by the way, these are shitholes.
Wow. Not racist at all.
Many of these countries are shit.
Same guy was criticizing Asmon for his looks and how dirty his room is. That's basically calling Asmon living like in a shithole. Just saying. And whatever this plushie is in the background, the orange and pink one, fucking adorable, and I want it. I've been holding back this entire video from saying it, but the woman is activating in me. Anyways.
It's very funny. It reminds me of Haiti. Everybody's like, Haiti's not a shithole. That's offensive to say. Haiti's not a shithole country. Unless you're getting deported to Haiti, then the country is so
I saw
bad
that.
it is practically a death sentence to these immigrants, according to Democrat officials.
And don't let anybody
We could talk about why that is. You know, I'm no like savant when it comes to why these countries are the way they are, but I would venture a guess it's not the—
It doesn't matter. They're still shitholes, and you're getting offended over that. That's like me saying, you know, you called a person violent. That's horrible. Why'd you call a person violent? You shouldn't be able to do that. Also, we can ask and discuss why he's violent. Like, what? You can't just condemn saying something and then go into detail and acknowledge 5 seconds later, we can talk about why this thing you're saying is actually true that I just criticized you and attacked you for. Like, what? Guys, what's going on here?
People there's fault, okay? Usually it falls back to America or Britain.
America, yeah, because like that's why Ethiopia is so terrible right now. It's because we colonized Ethiopia. Oh wait, we didn't, and now it's one of the worst countries in Africa that nobody wants to live in.
I'm just pointing that out.
You or tell you that, oh, it's America's fault. No, it's not. The ones that America has invaded are shitholes. The ones that America hasn't.
He literally said
he cut him off. He didn't let him finish, but he's absolutely right. W for Asmongold here. Yes. You can't blame America for everything. Western nations are evil and destroy everything. No, we wouldn't have Wakanda if the British Empire didn't go down to Africa.
Much worse things than this. I'm telling you, once this all turns back around, and it will, okay, just give it some time. Once this all turns back around, he's gone. Like, Twitch is gonna boot his ass.
And by the way,
this is what I fucking mean when I say with power earlier, and he's just outright admitting it. I know he's... I don't want to say nobody, right? Because I don't know who he is personally myself, but like, there's a lot of people I don't know out there, and apparently he's got the beef with Remnant as well. So I get no, I'm not gonna call him a nobody, but you see this across the board with almost all leftists is that they keep on saying when they get back in power, right? When they have control, Asmon's gonna be gone, or they're going to arrest Trump and throw him, and you know, because he's got the 70-some counts on for the federal, you know, charges against him, that kind of deal that they try to frame him with. They're going to be going after everyone they disagree with who has voted for Trump or supported him in some way, shape, or form in the past, like, 10 years. They keep on outright just admitting this, and this is what I mean when I say with power. They only care about power, and it's blatantly obvious they do. They just say it, and the right needs to do something about it, because the right can be like, they're just being mean. They don't mean what they actually say. They're just trying to act tough because they're sore losers. No! I mean, they are sore losers. They mean every single word that they just said there, and you should be wary, and you should try to do something to stop this from happening.
I guarantee if Alec Gunter watches this video, he's gonna be like, that's racist. What you're saying is racist, Remnant. I don't care what you call racist. I don't care.
Rebuttal what I say on the basis of if I'm factually correct or not.
And he's gonna have nobody to turn to. At least I hope that happens. You know, actually, honestly, it could also be the case that Twitch just turns a blind eye. Now that I think about it, honestly, maybe they won't. Who knows anymore? But if he does get banned permanently, that would be so funny. Like, once the political apparatus shifts back around.
Invaded, or Britain hasn't invaded, they're shitholes too. They're shitholes because the people made them shitholes. And whenever I talk about...
See, there it is. Yeah, their people made them shitholes. Yeah. Not racist, though.
You're not rebuttaling whether he's wrong, though. You're just calling it racist. People don't care what you call racist anymore, Alec Gunter. Prove and demonstrate he is wrong. We don't give a about your moral grandstanding anymore by calling everything racist that the right does, while excusing Hassan, who's openly anti-white.
Talking about an ideology, and that ideology is the idea that disrespect should be met with violence, the idea that, you know, crime, dysfunction, discord, and chaos in society should be expected. They're part and parcel of living in a modern city, and having people, you know...
Who has this ideology that you speak of? The leftists always talk about how we should minimize...
the people in the third world. That's who he's saying has this ideology.
Well, also leftists too. What's his name? Seth Rogen, I think? Was it Seth Rogen? Yeah, there was the famous leftist who tweeted out years ago this is still on Jack Dorsey's Twitter, that crime is just part and parcel of living in a big city. That's what Asmongold was referencing there. It was Seth Rogen? Okay. Because he got his car broke into for like the 4th time. It was ridiculous amount of times this car's been broken into. And he was complaining about like, oh, yeah, another day, you know, my car got broken into again. You know, it's the 5th time, whatever. And people were like, the 5th time? Well, what do you mean? And once again, it might not be the 5th time, but it was more than once apparently. And keep in mind, this is Seth Rogen, a famous actor, voice actor who should have a shit ton of money and should be living in a nice you know, area, right? And then he just like, well, living a prime is just part and parcel of living in a big city. No, it's not. It's not. No, this wasn't normal 20 years ago. Wasn't normal. Definitely wasn't normal 40, 60 years ago. Like, it's only been more recently. It's been so rampant these days. It's all because of demographic change, and you're just refusing to address it because you yourself are a leftist. You know, you actually support these policies and benefit from them. Mine's the fact your car gets broken into. So that is a leftist that has exactly said this. So technically both Remnant and this Alec guy is wrong. Alec is wrong that leftists are actually saying this. And Remnant is wrong when saying that it's just a shithole. It's only the shithole countries because technically leftists are promoting this. So, but it is the promotion of this from the third world that's doing it. So Remnant's not completely wrong. Maybe be a little bit pedantic. But like it's a horrible virus that they have in their brain to justify this because they don't want to admit what's actually causing the problem because they want to live in their ivory towers, even if their ivory towers are literally being destroyed as they speak.
Which is true. Not all civilizations around the world, nations around the world, have the same values as we do. A lot of them do just flat out respect power more. That's how it works.
That you speak of. The leftists always talk about how we should minimize the conditions that lead to crime, like homelessness. What do you talk about again? Oh yeah, disgusting third worlders, whose opinions you don't care about. Be so for real, man.
And you don't care about the opinions of many stupid Americans, you said, or you're fine with people having that opinion. What's wrong with me saying I don't care about what you call racist because you're a stupid American? I don't identify as a stupid American, Alec Gunter. I don't. So I don't fall in that category. You know, you put yourself in that category and you said it's fine for people not to listen to you. I don't care about any of those criticisms. What about that?
Say certain things because they might offend people or they'll make them mad.
He has some deep connections, most likely. It's called he makes them a lot of money. That's it. He makes them a lot of money. And so they're super hesitant to ban him because he makes them a ton of money.
Here's the thing. How much money do you actually think a single member really makes, people? Twitch makes how many billions? Let me think. Let me look over here. 1.8 billion in revenue. According to Google AI, because that's very a trustworthy source. I don't think they're not banning him because he makes them money. That's a retarded take.
Ironically, it kind of works the same way with Hassan. Hassan makes them a ton of money. And that's why, you know, that's why Hassan can sometimes get away with saying a lot of shit that like wouldn't be aired on.
You're not addressing the bigger issue though. You're not addressing how they literally like throw him a birthday party and the staff loves him. I'm pretty sure one of the staff members was gooning after him. Like she has the hots for him and everything.
Yes, a liberal mind in that MAGA body, Hassan Piker. Delicious. Ignoring the fact that he's got a really tiny head compared to the rest of his body thanks to the HRT that he's on. Anyways, this is besides the point. Dan claims he's like best friends with him. The amount of times Dan claims has been on his stream and helped him out and actually gotten involved with Hassan, insane. Absolutely insane. You're never going to see that with Asmongold. Never going to see that with Asmongold. There's definitely an incentive for Twitch to keep him alive. That's why they're handling him with kid gloves. But there's a difference between, you know, being gentler with him than giving full-on birthday parties, staff hanging out with him, BFFs with Dan Clancy, all these other various things, all these benefits, right? All the massive amount of benefits that Hassan Piker gets. Night and day difference. Night and day difference.
Love him. It's not money. It's not about how much money and donations is Hassan making us. That's not how these companies think. They can ban people willy-nilly. It's about having connections with the people personally.
On the news, you know? He advocates directly against Jeff Bezos, but Jeff Bezos doesn't see that as enough of a threat to him compared to the money that Hassan makes him, so he keeps Hassan on.
These are baseless assumptions. What's your evidence for this? Like, golly, what are we doing? What are we talking about here?
You know, but also, like, it would be a super bad look just to ban Hassan for saying Jeff Bezos sucks. Like, that's also the calculation. My point being, especially with it works the other, I think that's a better example. With him, it works the other way around with Hassan. He can be anti all he wants, and they won't ban him.
The idea that getting angry about
They
something
get more,
is a justification
because Jeff Bezos gets more money from Hassan than he does from Israel.
to break the law. This is what I'm really talking about with third worldism. Things that the Greek Senate, or the Greeks, the Romans, we figured this out in Western society, in Western culture. We've realized
He's just a white supremacist now.
You're a black supremacist. Where's our evidence for these claims we're making? He's a white supremacist. There are plenty of people who are in Western nations that aren't white. Like, what do you mean?
He's just a white supremacist. The Greeks were not white, by the way, right? Like, I'm
just gonna throw that out there. You import the third world, you become the third world.
90% sure that, like, the Greeks were not white. Like, they don't even have a concept of whiteness back then. That I know for a fact. Like, there was no white, black, brown, whatever. There were different skin colors and people recognized those, but I think our concept of whiteness today is I know for a fact it's way different than it ever was back then.
Okay, so then I guess that really throws the idea out of the waters that the Egyptians were black. Black people don't have any history, according to Alec Gunter. Racism, from your perspective, is just a made-up social construct. The main objection, the main problem I have, is there's no consistency to how you uphold your
And okay, so this Alex dude does have sort of kind of a point, but it's not from the racial lens. It's from the ethnic lens, more specifically the cultural lens. The French and the Germans are white, but the Frenchies are completely different than the Germans, both their language, their culture, how they act, they even look different too. And that's because back in the day, they didn't have trains and cars and planes. And so keeping even though Germany and France are right next door from each other, and they're actually not that far away in the modern age, going from the local village in southern France to northern France was quite a few days on horseback. And so the time that takes to travel and carry information, and therefore, integrate and actually mix with other people, mixing cultures and sharing the different things that happen throughout civilization, human history, took a lot fucking longer, a lot longer for that kind of microevolution to kind of occur there. Hence why the French and the Germans are so different from each other, and they've had such conflicts for so long. Or like the English and the French is a classic example of them constantly being at war with each other until the past 100 years, right? But there still was this racial understanding that whites were different than the Africans or the Chinese. So there's a little bit of truth what he's saying, but not from the racial lens. It's from the ethnic cultural lens instead. That's the difference. And that's where a lot of Europeans even struggle to this day to understand, because they don't see each other as whites. They see each other as German and French and Swedish and English, right? They don't see each other as white. Versus us Americans, since we have a nice melting pot here, we do see each other as white because we are descendants of Europeans who have come together and built a society. And even though our origins are different, we have created our own culture as just Americans, and so therefore we are whites and we're just white Americans. A few hundred years ago was, oh, the Germans are getting uppity again. I want to have another Reich. Okay, we gotta smack them down. Oh, the English are, taking over my colonies. Okay, well, us Frenchies, we must get the red flag out instead of the white flag out this time. Like, there's that was the differences then.
Principles. You don't have a problem with any sort of behavior. The only problem you have is where it comes from, the right or the left. That's it. And that, frankly, is disgusting. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and thank you so much to everybody who's supporting me on Patreon. Trust me, I'm really working on getting the Patreon videos out there. I thought I was going to have a Patreon video out for you by the time I released this video, but a hiccup happened. I'm really trying, though. We're really close. But that's all. I hope you have a good one.
Well, I think that was a pretty good vid. Dream did have a nice recommendation here. Make sure you check it out. Give it a like. Watch, a few minutes of it, or whatever the case is. Make sure he gets the view. Because at the end of the day, this is just react-slappa. It's react-seption slappa of sorts, because you got me reacting to Remnant, reacting to this Alex guy who's also reacting to Hassan, and yeah. So anyway, no, I think he deconstructed from the more normie take. Obviously, he was able to deconstruct the hypocrisy of a leftist. Once again, I don't know who this Alex guy is. Don't harass the Alex guy. Don't harass a remnant either for the more normie safe takes. I'm not sure if he's actually trying to appeal to normies or actually believes it himself. Regardless of the cases, you know, they are a little bit more normie safe overall. But I think he did a good job deconstructing it. He's much more eloquent and nicer about it than I am, that's for sure.